Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our April 19th meeting, 2022. It's kind of a hybrid meeting here. We're still working out some of the issues with audio and room in the council chambers. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Remind everyone of the cell phones, if you could place them on vibrate or shut them off, that would help from disturbing the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. You can declare it now or declare it if something pops up later. Seeing none. Okay, we have minutes here from the council meetings, a regular council meeting March 15th, special council meeting with regards to budget on March 22nd, and a special council meeting March 29th with to deal with the official plan and MPP Smith. So I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes if they're in order. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so I'm going to move right into a public meeting with regards to the zoning bylaw amendment. I'll look for a motion to go into this public meeting. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. So the reason for this public meeting is a zoning bylaw amendment for Henry Sikma and Jennifer Crosland. This is a statutory public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The owners or applicants are Henry Sikma and Jennifer Crosland. Hopefully I got that right. The property is described as part of Lot 31, Concession 9, having no civic address. Registered Plan 19, Lot 15, Fire Road 87, Bauer Drive, Methuen Ward, having the property roll number of 153101000753900. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support or opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and the microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites you to comment regarding the planning matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission to the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alicia.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, and good morning, council and members of the public. This application for zoning bylaw amendment that we'll be discussing today is for property owners Henry Sikma and Jennifer Crosland. And the purpose and effect of this application is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 1995-42 as amended in order to permit the development of the vacant property with a new single detached residential dwelling, which would also introduce certain site-specific regulations. We did work closely with the applicants and their agents to ensure that in developing this vacant property that a septic could be accommodated on the site as far back from the high water mark as possible. And the cottage that is proposed is located appropriately with consideration to the septic itself, as well as that high water mark. And the application as a result is seeking amendments to the minimum required high water mark setback, the front yard setback, the side yard setback, maximum permitted coverage, as well as the minimum required side yard setback for an accessory structure. As Mayor Martin mentioned, the property is not currently identified by a civic address. However, it can be described legally as Lot 15 on Registered Plan 19 on Fire Route 87. which is also known as Bauer Drive, and the property's roll number is 1531-010-007-53900. The property is in the Methuen ward on Jack Lake, and it is 0.18 hectares. It's zoned seasonal residential and is designated shoreline in the official plan. It is my recommendation that, subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at this statutory public meeting, that the application should be passed as presented. The applicant is requesting permission to develop the property with a new permanent residential dwelling, an accessory building in the form of a garage, a well, and a septic system. And in the event that permission is granted, the new dwelling will be set back 22.2 meters from the high water mark, with an attached deck being 19.2 meters from the high water mark. The proposed dwelling will have a ground floor area of just over 173 square meters, and it will be 6.4 meters in height. And the new cottage will also include multiple uncovered decks. And as part of the property, as much as proposed, which would be side of the high water mark, and the new septic system as well will be located behind the new dwelling and outside of the water mark as well. The property is on the north shore of Jack Lake, which is outside of the Crow Valley Conservation Authority's jurisdiction. So no consultation was required with the Crow Valley Conservation Authority, and it was not conducted either. However, in lieu of that, a scoped environmental impact statement was prepared in support of the development, and that was evaluated in our review, and that statement actually evaluated the proposed development with respect to the existing vegetation on site and the development proximity to Jack Lake. The study did include multiple recommended mitigation measures to prevent further degradation to the environment, and some of those mitigation measures included densifying the existing vegetation between the proposed dwelling and the shoreline, and avoiding any further disturbance between basically where that deck is located and the shore itself. So following our review and assessment of this application with the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is our opinion that the subject application conforms to the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the County of Peterborough official plan, the Township official plan, and it is consistent with the provincial policy statement. Public notice was posted on site, and it was mailed to surrounding property owners in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. And it should be noted that the township also did receive a letter of support for the development from a neighboring property owner on Jack Lake. It is my conclusion and recommendation that this application be approved, and I'm happy to answer any questions from council members or members of the public today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alicia. All right, well, I'm going to open it up. If there's anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to this application, I'll hear it now. Second time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And the third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Holly, go ahead.
Hi, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to answer any questions that council may have, and also let you know that the homeowners and the contractors for this property have gone through the environmental assessment and are aware of all the mitigation measures that will be required during construction.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, well, I'll ask for the final time. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of this application? All right, I'm going to open it up to council. There is a recommendation here. What's your thoughts? Does anybody have anything to add to it? Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Appears here that everybody has done due diligence in this request. And so I would move that we approve the recommendation through the planning department.
Okay, thank you. I got a mover here to go with the recommendation here and the balance, receive the balance of the report. And I have a seconder, Councillor Pomeroy.
Another question.
Go ahead.
So we have a small lot and we've just plugged it right full. You know, you went from on the west side to 1.5 meters, which 6 meters is required. on the cottage and the garage are 1.5 meters on the east side. And there's still 6 meters, 3 meters required on that side. So to me, you've got a lot of things happening here on a new lot. Are we setting a precedent? You know, I know land is valuable, but maybe we should have it big enough to be within our bylaws here.
Okay, Alicia, can you answer that?
Yep, I can answer that. Thank you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so on this site, it is an existing lot of record. The reason for the setback reductions on the west side of the property, that's to permit sort of an access deck for stairs going up to the property. So that's basically just so that folks coming down from the water, coming back up can access that. And for the garage itself, it is located, I believe you said, yeah, the 1.5 where 3 is required. And the garage was strategically located, as was the cottage, to be as far back from the high watermark setback as possible. So in order to sort of fit everything in on the property with respect to the septic as well, and making sure that the required setbacks to the septic were in place, we did have to scooch that over to the side a little bit. But as I said, it's an existing lot of record. I wouldn't say that this is setting a precedent necessarily. It's just ensuring that the environmental requirements are being met by locating these structures outside of the high water mark.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments or questions for Alicia?
I would also like to add that the ecologist's opinion of the and the recommendation of the EIS is a very good measure to determine if whether or not the property is located in the least impactful location, which has been done in this process. So,
okay, all right, thank you. All right then, so I have a mover and a seconder for this with the recommendation that was provided here. Is there any other questions? If not, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Alicia. All right, so I'll look for a motion to go out of this part of this public meeting and get that done first. Is there a motion?
Move,
to go out
Mr.
of
Mayor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. And now I'll look for a motion to go into planning minor variances. Councillor Webb moved that and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. So Deputy Mayor Giroux, take it over.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, members of council. I'll call a Committee of Adjustment meeting to order and remind the members of the committee the requirement is to disclose any pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof if the occasion arises. I will tell the public this is a public meeting held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its rules and regulations. I will now ask our planner consultant to provide his report.
through you, Chairman, members of council, and the public, the township is in receipt of the a minor variance application A0322. The property owner is one Pamela Steiger. Steiger or Steger, I'm sorry if I butchered that. The current zoning is seasonal residential with an official plan designation of shoreline fronting on Jack Lake. The purpose of the minor variance application is to seek relief from section 4.1E and section 11.2.21 of the zoning bylaw to permit the construction of a 37 meter square or 398 square foot garage. This will have the effect of one, reducing the minimum required side yard setback from 3 meters, which is 10 feet, to 0.8 meters, which is 2.6 feet, as well as to increase the maximum total floor area permitted for all accessory buildings from 75% to a total of 79%. The staff recommendation is that the approval of the minor variance application follows with the following conditions. That the development be completed in accordance with the site plan. So the approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the issuance of a building permit. That a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit. That a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application, and that the balance of the report be received. So there's currently a single detached dwelling on the property with a boathouse and a shed. The shed is to be removed and a garage structure to be erected at the same location as the shed. The original concept of the garage encroached upon the 30-meter high watermark setback. The applicants, in consultation with the township, were willing to drastically improve upon the application and decrease the size of the garage to meet the 30-meter high watermark setback. So through our analysis, staff determined that the location was considered the least impactful location on the property for the garage. There were no locations on the property that were appropriate, seeing as there were topographic consideration and septic systems located towards the south, property line and hydro easements towards the east, and the high watermark setback towards the minimum required high watermark setback towards the west. So this application is subject to the 4 tests of a minor variance. One, it's considered one minor nature, as the visual impact would be similar to the existing structures and located where a structure or a shed structure already exists. The application would increase the maximum allowed floor area from 75% to 79%. All other regulations regarding lot coverage will be maintained. Secondly, the application is desirable and appropriate given the fact that the structure will be subordinate to the existing dwelling, compatible with adjacent land uses, as well as increase the utility of the property. And thirdly, the application conforms to the official plan, township official plan, in particular section 2.1.24. And finally, the application conforms to the intent of the zoning bylaw, permitting uses as per section 4.1. So this application that is before us conforms to both the provincial policy statements as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, which are essentially policy documents that promote efficient development in rural areas. It should be noted that the neighbors to the north have also expressed their support for the proposed development of the garage. Seeing as this application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance and conforms to the PPS as well as the growth plan, it is the recommendation of this report that the application be approved. And that concludes my report to council.
Thank you, Area. That was well done. Good report. Is the applicant for our record present today? I see someone coming on the screen. You're muted. Well, there's somebody else come on the screen here, Pam, but he's having a problem to get in. So, you the applicant, John? You're not the applicant?
No, I'm not.
All right.
I think Pam is having technical issues currently at the moment.
Well, I'll carry on. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application?
I would like to.
You have the floor then. I'm going to ask. Go ahead.
My name's John Lashinger. I'm a property owner at number 80 Fire Route 87B. So I'm the property immediately to the south of this property. Before I make some points, could I get some more information? What is the size of this property in terms of acreage and or waterfront coverage?
So,
and what is the height of this proposed garage?
Anything else? Ira has already given us that, but I'm sure he will have no problem giving it to us again.
Absolutely.
area?
Yes, absolutely. So the area of the lot is 0.53 acres, so it's roughly about a little over half an acre. Shoreline frontage, we do have that in the. I would have to find the location of the actual frontage. We would have to do a GIS mapping. However, it was conforming to the zoning bylaw, so it did meet the minimum standards for the frontage of the seasonal residential properties or the seasonal residential zoning. The height was also not subject to a minor variance or a variance, so it would meet the zoning requirements. So it would be in the zoning, it would be 15 feet. So it was roughly below 15 feet.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to review this application. In 2012, I arrived at the cottage to find that the boathouse on this property had been constructed. I don't recall being invited to a public meeting or to make comment on this at all. I could be wrong. Maybe I missed the notice, but I don't think so.
Would you like me to speak a little bit in regards to that?
Yes, I guess I would like to.
Absolutely, yes. And so essentially, if a structure does meet our zoning, it would not need planning approval. So it would be my planning opinion that if the boathouse structure was created in accordance with our zoning, then it would not go into a public meeting. It would go into the development stage or the building permit stage. So that could probably address why you weren't given notice in regards to the boathouse requirement, because it probably did not meet planning approval at the time. Again, this was some years ago, so I know the zoning has changed. However, if it met all the regulations of the zoning, it would just go into a building permit.
Right.
Thank you, Area. Does that answer your questions?
I guess it answers my question. That boathouse was precipitated by a previous decision of this council to allow for a $500,000 in-water boathouse to be constructed. And this council decided that they had no right to interfere with the construction of that boathouse, which is about 300 feet across the channel from this particular boathouse. And that decision has now been overruled by provincial legislation, I understand, and all in-water boathouses are now prohibited. But anyway, that's another story. As I said, I appreciate the opportunity to review this application. I'd like to make 3 points. This application pushes the envelope in terms of adding structure to the property, so much so that it needs 2 variances in order to comply. 75% up to 79%, and reducing the setback on the north side to less than 3 feet from, I understand, it should be 10 feet. This property also is a small piece of property. It's half an acre, and it has now this boathouse that was built in 2012 by a previous owner, by the way. It's not the current owner. It also has a deck of 32 square meters, which I understand does not count as a structure, but it does take coverage. So it's a small piece of property, and we now want to put a garage on it. I looked up the average size of garages, two-car garages, online. I don't know if that has any bearing, but the average is 18 by 20 or 360 square feet is what, and the average height of a garage is 8 feet. Now, I don't know whether these are not planning requirements but this is what's online. And when you look up the average size, both in terms of the coverage and the height. So again, perhaps by reducing the size of this garage from the 400 square feet down to 360 square feet might negate the need to have any variance on the either the north side or on the coverage area. Again, I think the size of the garage is again pushing the envelope on this property. It's a small piece of property. And again, the height was not mentioned, although I'm now told it's going to be 15 feet, according to the planning official. I don't think that is needed. So I would like to suggest that the garage, which again, the planning official tells me started out at what was the original request?
The original, through to you, Deputy Mayor. So the original structure was slightly larger in scale, so in terms of square footage. So there was drastic improvements made upon the application to meet the 30-meter high water mark. It was, from my recollection, the reason why it was stipulated as the current size was to house their already bought vehicles. So I'm not entirely sure if I can comment more further on that. Maybe Pam could, maybe the applicants can stipulate a little bit further on that. However, pushing the envelope with 2 variances, that is something that has been done in the past. I passed an application last month or last council meeting that did push 2 to 3 different variances or stipulations of the regulation. It all depends on site-specific parameters and site-specific requirements. So you do mention the building envelope as well as the property acreage. We did pass this off to our planning consultants who gave us our stamp of approval. They are a registered professional planner as well. So I think because of the fact that the garage structure, the average garage structure is what you stipulate, this would still be considered minor in nature if going from 75% to 79% in terms of lot coverage or the accessory building coverage.
Thank you again, Aria, for your explanation. John, if you would repeat your full name and address for our clerk, make sure that we have that information first of all. Can you
Yeah.
do that, John?
It's John Lashinger. You have my email address, so I'm doing it on for this Zoom meeting. I'm at 711 2727 Yonge Street, Toronto, Mother 4 Norman, 3 Richard 6. Again, with respect to the previous response that the planning official gave me, you know, the planning consultants, I hope are not the same people that gave you the advice that you didn't have any responsibility for that in-water boathouse.
That was a provincial matter.
No, it was not a provincial matter.
I'm not going to argue with today. We're not talking about the boathouse across the lake. We're talking about this minor variance. And I don't really think, unless you have something new, I don't want to keep this meeting held up by repeating and by repeating. So if you have anything new, please tell us and we'll certainly listen to you.
I don't have anything new. I'm just still a little ticked off at the previous treatment of this council on boathouses.
Through to you, Deputy Mayor. John, we also have a public meeting coming up on Thursday, actually, pertaining to boathouses on Jack Lake. I would strongly recommend that you do attend that meeting. If you have any comments, please go to our website and submit them, and we can address them at that meeting.
That's fine.
Thank you, John.
I would, just one more point. I would like this council to put a limit on the height of this structure. This is a small piece of property. And when you drive, when I drive in by it, I mean, I don't want to be faced with a large wall. It's replacing some sort of a shed that's about 8 feet high.
All right, thank you for your comments. Mayor Martin, did you have a comment?
Just a comment there, Aria. Can you clarify the height? I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding here. The height of 15 feet is it's to deal with the roof too. It's not the wall height, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it would essentially go through to you, Mayor. Yes, absolutely. So our measurements of height will go from, and I have it actually in front of me, which would be the wall. If it depends on the type of roof. If it's a hip roof, it would be the wall and then halfway up the slope roof line. So essentially, and we're forgetting that is the maximum. 15 feet is the maximum. This structure didn't meet the 15 feet, and it was less than that. So I haven't. I can't verify off the top of my head exactly. It's in the file. However, if you'd like to follow up with an email, I'd greatly clarify for you after the meeting.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, then we're going to move on. Thank you again, Aria. I'll call again. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, one more time. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this application? John, your microphone is still on. If you could turn it off, please. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Hello,
Is there anyone?
can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm Martin Steiger. I'm just like, my mom's having trouble logging in for some reason. I've told her to call in. She doesn't seem to understand how to call in. So I don't know if I can clarify anything for anyone. I wasn't able to catch the first half of the meeting or the discussion on this because I am trying to work from home as well. But I guess there was an issue with the height. Again, I just wanted to clarify that yes, the height is not the total wall height. So the peak is included in that. It will be roughly the same height as the shed that is currently there, because the shed has a current A-frame peak as well. And I just wanted to clear anything up if anybody had any other sort of questions, but Arya did a great job. So I just wanted to kind of chime in just because my mom is unable to, but I'm there with her as well.
All right, thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you.
Before I open it up to questions from the members of the Committee of Adjustment, I have a question. Is John Smallwood online with us this morning? John, are you there this morning?
Yes, I am, Deputy Mayor.
Good morning, John. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Well, thank you.
I just have one question. In regards to the 2.6 feet up against the property line of the neighbor, is it possible to erect a garage that close to the property line without actually going on the property owner? I guess what I'm saying, John, is
So Deputy Mayor, I have had an opportunity to be on site, and I did meet with the neighbor to the north of the property when we posted it and took a photograph of it. The building height, there would be adequate space to construct this type of structure with that type of setback. And I know we've already talked with the planning assistant to make sure that there'd be no unprotected openings such as windows or doors facing that property owner on that side. The property owner did convey to me to the north that he didn't have any issues with the proximity to his property of this structure.
okay. Thank you for that. So I can assume there's no drainage problems off the roof or anything on the neighboring property.
No concerns were relayed to me at that time. I did look at the neighbor's cottage or shed is actually over the property line at the back, and there is a hydro pole and wire that's very close there, and the fire route is very close there, but there was nothing conveyed of any concerns with drainage to me.
All right, thank you for that, John. All right, I'm going to open this up to council. They've got a couple of options here. So council, if you have any questions or comments, now is the time. Go ahead, Deputy or Mayor Martin.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a question out here, I guess, is, this might be one of those ones that we've talked about in the past, that it's sometimes better to have eyes on to take a look at it. We don't do that anymore for most of them because most don't need to have a site visit, but I'm just wondering if this one should be deferred to offer us a chance to go out and do a site visit on the property to actually see it. I'm just going to throw that out there as a question more than a motion right now, but I'm prepared to make a motion that we defer this and do a site visit to take a look at the property firsthand.
Through to you, Mayor. I actually did a site visit out there, and I took photos of the septic system, as well as the location of the shed, as well as the dwelling itself, and the property line, as well as the hydro easement. So I was boots on the ground with portion of my report did include a site visit summary with all the applicable information in regards to adjacent land uses and what's currently there on the property as well. I think one of the considerations was if it was pushed a little bit further towards the lake, it would be coming too close to the septic system, and it would impede the access to the cottage itself for accessibility reasons.
Thank you, Arya. Members of council, any member wishing to speak to this? Counselor Webb.
Yeah, well, I realize there's questions been raised here, but as our planner has indicated, all of our bylaws have been met, so I say I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this recommendation. Move ahead.
Thank you, Counselor Webb. I have a mover. Do I have a seconder? I have a seconder on the motion. A seconder, Counselor Ellis.
I'll second the motion with a comment.
Go ahead.
So again, I am seconding the motion, but I would like to reflect some of the comments by Councillor Pomeroy on a previous application that maybe we need to start and look a little closer on these small lots when we're loading it up with boathouses and garages and so on. I know we have a minor variance process, which allows to be minor in a variance, but I'm seconding the motion, but I think it's something that our council and our planning department and building department maybe need to focus a little bit on. I know we have a process and we're meeting it by minor variance, but are we starting to tighten the envelope up too tight? That's my comments, but I am seconding the motion.
Thank you for your comments and your motion. Okay. Go ahead, Mayor Martin.
Okay, and just one question to Arya, I guess. So we have the square footage of the garage. I just wonder on the depth of it. I guess I'm going to say depth, but to bring it off the line, one of the suggestions was to make it a little smaller. And I know you have knocked it down some already. To get another, whatever it is, 6 feet, to make it within without needing a minor variance. There's no other way of repositioning this garage to try and bring it a little closer. Like, I know we do this all the time. I mean, 6 or 7 feet is one thing, but it is quite close. So is there any other opportunity here to make it fit a little better without going so close
Through
to the
you,
line?
Mayor. Yes, that's a great question and a valid one. When we were consulting with the property owners, their current vehicle was the only, and it fit the size of the or their vehicle or recreational vehicles, motor vehicles. That was the size that they were said it was adequate. I know it was a little bit larger. We had to cut it back to meet the 30-meter high water mark. The current location is what we would consider as the least impactful, given the fact that the property line is to the east, as well as the hydro easement to the east. Towards the south, there was the septic system. So any size that was larger or encroaching upon that, if it was moved a little bit away from the property line, would encroach upon that, the setback, and the high water mark setback. So those were essentially the comments that we were that guided our recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for all the work that went into this. I know they're always all over the place here.
All right, any other comments? If not, I'm going to call the motion. I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor of the motion? Can't see Councillor Pomeroy. Can you communicate to me, Councillor Pomeroy? I can't see your hand.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that motion is approved. I thank the committee for their thoughts. I thank the planning committee, building department. So that's the only minor variance we have listed. So I'll take a motion to come out of the committee of adjustment and turn the gavel back over to the mayor.
So move, Mr. Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor Giroux. Okay, we're going to move into planning reports here, and we have one planning report here with regards to a merger agreement. Arya, you're back on.
Through to you, Mayor, members of the council, as well as the public. Yes, we do have, the purpose of this report is actually to seek approval for a merger agreement pertaining to the property identified as 77 George Street East. It's in the Hamlet area of Havelock. This is actually a condition for a consent to sever sever for application B3321. That the recommendation, township recommendation, is that the mayor and council and clerk be authorized to enter into a merger agreement with Bernard Van Eidenhoven and Francisca Sanders to merge the portion of the parcel of land known as 77 George Street, Havelock. It's identified as Schedule A in the attached bylaw, with the abutting vacant property to the north being recognized as the legal description shown as Schedule B. So this essentially, this consent to sever application B3321 was recommended for approval by County Council on July 5th, 2021. The Peterborough County Land Division Committee issued the attached notice of decision in which the severance was granted, with condition 5 stipulating the requirement of a merger agreement. There are currently no financial impacts related to the approval for the merger agreement, and all costs associated with this agreement are the responsibility of the applicant. And that concludes my report. It's short.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Just catching up here, but okay, so there is a recommendation here, and you know, it looks pretty straightforward. What's council's thoughts here? Councillor Webb?
I just make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the planner.
All right, moved by Councillor Webb that we go with the recommendation. Do I have a seconder to that? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Is there any other questions around the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Arya.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move into delegations and presentations. So I have 4, I guess, listed delegations here. So I'm going to ask everyone to please adhere to the 10 minutes so we can get through these. So our first here, and CAO Bob, you can, citizens of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, there's no name with this, but is that just to receive all the letters that came in as part of the survey?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, those are the written comments that were received from citizens who did not wish to address the meeting.
Okay, and I want to thank everyone who took the time to do that. There was a lot of good participation there, and they were kind of all over the place, but thank you very much for taking the time to let us know how you feel. So the first delegation here with regards to the medical center is Pat Patterson. Pat, are you there? Lori there? Lori? There we go. Morning, Pat.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This action is regarded again to the medical center. When the center was built, the organizations and businesses, Rotary, Legion, Orange Lodge, the Ladies Auxiliary, and thousands of private donations were given. The biggest problem was the creek some 42 feet away. It had a special zoning. Mr. Brett, the Rotarian, knew someone in the entire government, and the special zoning was allowed. It was built by the office, but the office walls should have been of soundproof nature and the roof regularly trusted. On a special note, not only do we have the MPP that we won't get the 128 housing project on Smith Drive, it is more important not to sell, but to keep full control of our center. This lot and building is worth much more than $567,000 in today's market. And if council, in its wisdom, would install what was needed when it was built out of reserves, could be used for our building and planning department and upgrading today's Wi-Fi, etc. Then the township offices on Ottawa Street will have plenty of room and won't need to be replaced in the near future. Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question on behalf of our taxpayers and have a CAO read read out the bids and their names and where they're from, same as was done for Mr. Grower?
Did you hear that?
I'm sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. I'm not sure I understood the question.
Looking for all the bids that came in for the medical center.
There were 3 bids that came in. I don't have them in front of me. They are in the staff report. I believe it was noted the amounts.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, we're having a tough time to hear. Maybe if Bob could speak up a bit.
Okay. Bob, could you speak up a little louder?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. I don't have the bids in front of me. They're not available at this moment. There were
Okay.
3 bids received.
Okay. All right then, and okay, so did you say they're in this report, Bob? I'm just looking for them.
Yeah, I'm just double checking to see if they were in there. I know we noted there were 3 bids. And if they're not there, we can certainly make them available.
Okay. All right then. Okay. I'll open it up. Go back to you then, Pat. It's we're just looking for that now.
Okay, that's fine. If council decides to continue with the sale of our center, which is a major part of our assets, Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, our ratepayers may just contest it in a court of law, which be open to all the public. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pat. And yeah, so is that the end of your delegation with regards to the medical center?
It is, but I would still like Bob to come back and tell me or tell the taxpayers just what those other bids were before we continue on. Or
I would imagine.
at a later
Yeah.
time in the meeting.
Okay, because I would imagine they're public information. Okay. I'll okay, so has council got any questions for Pat Patterson? And we'll have to dig those things up there, Bob, if they're handy. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. And Mr. Patterson, perhaps I'm not hearing right. Maybe I'm having a hard time to hear you. I thought you made a statement a minute ago that said that the MPP said that we were not getting the go ahead for the long-term care. Did you say that?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Okay, it sounds like a little bit of a communication problem here, but yeah, Pat, you were saying about the MPP not going ahead with the long-term care, and he actually made a statement that
Yes, yeah, at the meeting the past week, your member of parliament made a statement that we were not going to get the 128 beds. And it's going to go to Madoc. And I talked to the mayor down there and he committed to me that that's true. Now, hey, I don't know just where you're going on this, but if this is true, then there, I don't play politics with the government because everybody knows what happened here, but there's quite a discussion on it. And however, all I'm saying is if that is true, then we better hang on to that. Even though we may be in a lawsuit, I would say, that's fine. Let's take it to court and keep that building because we're going to need that.
Well, Mr. Patterson, to rebuttal that, I never ever heard my MPP say that. And I don't know what the mayor of Madoc has told you, but we try and deal in factual stuff, not what we hear on the street.
I'd like to comment on that if I could. I just know by Deputy Mayor that I only deal with people that tell me the truth. And I'm not so sure that our MPP, Mr. Smith, did not say that. I'll have to take that up with him.
Oh, you do that.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, all right then. So with regards to the medical center here, Pat, I appreciate your comments here. And, you know, one of those things, and you know this better than anyone, you sat at the table here and you know how decisions are made. Not everything is done around a strategic plan or a priority. Deal with things that are out of the ordinary. And this is something that really wasn't a quick decision. There's been a lot of discussion around this for years. It goes right back to the last term of council about needing a new medical center. Right now, there hasn't been a doctor in this building for over 15 years. We've been working on it. But things are changing. The landscape is changing every day. We're dealing with it at the county, trying to get doctors to Peterborough. We're dealing with it with the Trent Hills Family Health Team. They sent us a letter and said they will not be back. And I think that letter is available to put on the screen here if you want to see it. So sometimes council has to do what's best. We were elected to do what's best for the community. And this is one of those things that we entertained because we feel that it is best. The doctor is really important to us. That's what a medical center is the other part of the puzzle. We're hearing from other areas that a doctor's office in one town doesn't always have a medical center amongst several small communities. So it works to attract doctors, because right now we can't attract one. We haven't been able to. We've tried everything. We've offered to pay for schooling. But all these decisions don't have a public meeting for them. When we bought the property for the long-term care, we didn't have a public meeting to see if we should do it. We did it. When we bought Midtown, nobody's commented on that. We're looking for what's good for the community and an opportunity. So we did it. Nobody complained. It seems like it's getting close to election time and now people are, you know, looking at these things in a different light. And I just find it disappointing because we all live here. We all work here. We pay taxes. We're not trying to sabotage anything. It took 5 people to vote on this and consider it. And we had several public meetings. We've had fire and ice. We never had a public meeting to give it money to make it survive. We just did it because we thought it was good for the community. There's so many things we do that if we had a public meeting for everything, we would never move forward. And I think that's what's been happening over the years. So I appreciate all the comments and I really respect what you're saying. And we do try to do what's right. We do talk to the ratepayers. I've had several phone calls and emails about this both ways. Some want you to answer the question. They seem to be okay and appreciate what we're doing. Others will never be happy, but that's part of the job. You know that, you've been here. So I'm not going to rant anymore, but it's just, like I say, all them surveys that came in were really good. Really good to see what people have to say. And they were all over the place. I have to say, some, as long as we get a doctor or as long as we have a medical center, they're okay. And that's what our goal is, to get a new medical center that might attract some of these new young doctors that didn't want to come to the old medical center because of the dated state. So, and you mentioned about the creek and the limitations around the property. I remember when I first got on council, I suggested, why don't we move the council chamber over to there? And that's what was said to me. It was a little hard to do things like that because the property is limited. It's zoned for this. People have mentioned a skating rink. They're not concerned about the medical center or the doctor's office. They're concerned about the use of the building. And we have buildings around and we have property around and we'll make the best of what we have. But this meeting was to let people know, you know, what we were dealing with and to open it up for information. and hopefully at the end of the meeting, the information helps us make a decision to finalize this thing. So one way or the other. So anyways, I'll open it up to council now if you have anything to add, and then we'll move on to, we'll receive this I'll get a motion to receive this delegation. Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux, you're receiving. Okay, and seconded by Councillor Webb. Okay, all in favor of,
Votes
and that's carried. Okay, then, so we'll move on to the next delegation. We do have you coming back later for the sixth line. So Dave Sharp, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor Martin, council and staff. Thanks for receiving my delegation regarding the medical center. The comments that I would like to mostly make are surrounding the planning and the process, which has led to a lot of confusion in the community. The first point that I would like to address is there's been no mention of the like, I couldn't find any mention of sale of the medical center in the list of priorities and the budget meeting. If you watch that budget meeting from for the 2021 budget, it's kind of assumed that I think that a new roof, I think that if I'm correct on that, is going to be put on no mention of the building being sold. So I kind of feel like that there should be, if you kind of watch a budget meeting for the year, you should kind of have a really good idea on what your council is up to. And you would think that any major decisions would kind of come up at that time. The second point that I would like to make is just like about confusion around the sale. In a Peterborough Examiner article, it was mentioned that it was too late to stop the sale of the medical center. I can read, I can read the exact quote. It says, in an interview with the Examiner, Martin said it's too late to stop the sale and that offers have already been closed for the property, which was listed for $475,000. CAO Bob Angioni, that regarding the public review of the medical center, just to clarify for the community, sale of the medical center has not closed, not complete. This has just led to an awful lot of confusion and misinformation. And I think this is really important because on the April 5th YouTube meeting, the recorded Zoom, there's only 66 people who have watched that. So, I mean, that's not very many for an entire community. And that kind of misinformation is really important. We're just clarifying. The money that's included, like in the March 15th budget meeting, the money for the sale of the medical center, it's my understanding that that was included in the budget in the medical center reserve. And I think that also adds a lot to the misinformation, because we're not sure if it's sold, is it not sold? If you add it to the budget, it appears sold. I'd also I feel that the plans for the new medical center are very unclear. And I've asked repeatedly for the final cost of the new medical center location and timeline, and haven't received any feedback from the CAO. And like the decision to declare that medical center surplus before being provided this information or giving the information to the community, I feel is really bad planning. It's a bit like selling your house before you know how much a new house is going to cost. And with like whatever, I'm a bit unclear now as to, after Pat's comment, what actually is happening with the long-term care facility, but I'm not sure that anyone can actually say, like affirmed that Havelock is getting a new long-term care facility, when it's going to be and how much it's going to cost to build a medical center there. So my suggestion would be to hold on to the medical center until the long-term care facility is built. And then if the medical center currently is deemed surplus by the community following like a reviewed process, then and then that would be the decision that the community and council can make together. I would also like to address the 4 parking spaces. So those 4 parking spaces by the dentist that he's going to allow, they're there for 10 years. So 10 years goes by pretty fast. That's only 2.5 terms of council. And my worry for the community is after that 10 years, those parking spaces are going to be gone. And I'm not sure that we have any information, like will the county actually let a new entrance go into that park? And it leaves any further development in that park, pretty much like it just can't happen because there won't be parking spaces. So if a council in 15 years decides that that might be a great location for a splash pad, because people traveling down Highway 7 will give them a place to stop. That's just can't happen. So I think that the municipality is kind of leaving itself high and dry. The last comment that I would like to make is actually, there's over 400 people from our community that have signed the petition that I'm sure you're all aware of. And some of the people, pretty much all the people are very well-respected people in our community. They're ratepayers, they're community stakeholders. And I just think it's very important to look at those comments and assess the information. This isn't some kind of a ploy, as stated in one of the council meetings back in February. This is a community that really wants to be involved, and they feel that this has been a little bit of a wrongdoing and it needs to be corrected. And thank you for your time and for hearing my concerns.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And yeah, there's a lot of things here that obviously the word isn't out there, because a lot of those comments brought up about the splash pad. We've had several meetings, and people should know that we've already picked the site for the splash pad. It's starting in July. It's in our budget. Nobody's talked about it. So to put another splash pad in that park, it probably won't happen. I mean, you wouldn't have 2 in a little town like this, but that's another story. You sit on the Economic Development Committee with us, and you know how I feel about strategic plans and how important they are. When it comes to things that we've dealt with in the last couple of years in COVID, a lot of things you had to react really quickly, because none of us could have predicted what we've been through. So some of these things that you're talking about, you know what, someday you might get a chance to sit here and you'll be able to make the decision, and you can have all the public meetings you want if that's what you choose. We're more open now than I've ever seen us. Like I say, I've been around here a while. At one time we had minutes and we had the community press. Now we have so many things on the go here with the Zoom. We have the videos, we have the rail, we have the examiner following us. We have so many things happening that it's not perfect, but we're trying our best to make sure everybody's informed. And like I say, the splash pad's a good example. So many of those comments on those surveys were about putting a splash pad there. We've already picked the site. We've already said we're doing it. We've already got the tender out and back, and nobody seems to have seen it. So we're doing something wrong, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
My comment regarding the splash pad is just an example.
Yeah.
My point that I'd like to make to council is the in 10 years, potentially with this agreement, there will be no parking at that park.
We do have permission from the county to put an entrance into there, and what that would look like. you know, we didn't do a design, but we did make sure we had access to the park if need be, to put a row of parking in there.
Wouldn't,
We studied how many cars use it, and 4 looked like it was enough for most of the time, plus what's on the boulevard.
Would-
You know, and the comment you made, I'll just finish here and then I'm gonna open it up to council, but
I don't want to interrupt you, but wouldn't good planning mean that before you sold the medical center, that you would have traffic studies done, entrance approval? Like that is good
Yeah, but-
planning. Selling something and then doing this after the fact is not what our community needs or deserves.
we had it already. That's what I'm saying. That was there already. We made sure we had access to the park. It's, Peter got that all done before anything was even listed. And I'm just gonna comment on the part about the examiner story. Maybe I worded it wrong as far as, sold. It should have been listed. It's too late to pull back the listing because it was already listed. As far as selling it, this is part of the process of opening it up to make sure everybody understands what we're dealing with or what we were doing here. And that's where we are today. So everything we've done is the way we've done it for years, right back to when we started. I mean, they didn't have public meetings for anything back then, and we do if we think it needs to be. And that's what this is for, to make sure everybody understands what council was thinking. And like I said before, that we were elected to do what's right for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Social media has created a little bit of a different tool, but we're doing what we think is right, and we haven't made the decision yet. It's going to happen. Today's information and all them surveys we've read. So I'm going to open it up to council here, Dave, and see if they have any comments or questions for you. Because we are at the end of the 10-minute delegation. So council, do you have any questions for Dave? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Okay, I'll, so thank you, Dave, for your presentation. Oh, sorry, okay, go ahead, Bob, or Barry, sorry, go ahead.
Councilor Pomeroy has a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I
Barry.
just want to clarify something else, you know, people are so worried. Am I muted?
No, you're hearing you.
Okay. Everyone seems so worried about the medical center being sold.
Just a delay, go ahead.
Okay. And Dr. Grover offered to buy the place. We've had an advertisement out for a doctor for over 20 years. We can't attract one. We never will attract one to a small museum coming to an old building. So part of the building is vacant. And the little bit of people know that we supply all the supplies, even Trent Bill's family doctor. It didn't cost them anything for rent, heat, water, the whole thing. We gave them that part of the building. And the same with the dentist office. We're not at a break-even point there with him neither. So with him buying, I probably won't be here, but for a doctor in a medical center. But as far as a medical center being snapped, we want one right now. There's no reason for it because we don't have a doctor, neither does it a lot of other municipalities in Ontario. I hate to dwell on this, but it's a thing of the past, basically. And Dr. Grover has written a letter to council saying that he would like to keep that building for medical professionals. So maybe you can read between the lines. Maybe he has something up his sleeve. I don't know. But, you know, maybe he has an option. Maybe he has somebody that he knows that is a doctor that could come to that building. But he's gonna buy it and he's gonna rent it. And what he said in the letter is he would like to keep it professional medical people. That's the end of my conversation.
All
I
right,
guess
well,
even
thank you.
that is a bit of misinformation in itself. I mean, I just read that this morning and I'm pretty sure real estate agents were included in that. in the March 15th meeting. So this is like kind of what I'm getting at, is there's so much misinformation, and I think it's just really, really important to point out these misinformations. Maybe this is something that only like the integrity commissioner or the ombudsman could go through and kind of sort this mess out. And that's the end of my delegation. So thank you all for listening to me, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Dave. So no other questions for Dave? I'll take a motion to receive the delegation. A mover to receive the delegation, moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
Okay, our next delegation with regards to the medical center is Roger Clark. Maybe it's guest, I'm not sure. Roger, are you here? Okay. Margaret, is there any Roger Clark registered?
No, through you, Mayor Martin, there doesn't appear to be. Nobody on the call.
Okay. All right then. Okay then. So we'll move on to the next delegation. And the next delegation is Pat Patterson again with regards to the 6-line transfer station. Pat? There we go. Something's happening.
Your person has blocked the video. Yep.
The video? Margaret, is there a video blockage there?
Okay, hold on.
Nope, I've just asked them
Okay,
to join
there
with
we go.
video.
There you go.
Go ahead.
You're there, Pat.
6-line.
Yep. Hello, Pat.
Hey, I'm back again. Yeah, yeah. I guess my talk on the 6-lane waste disposal down there, it went on for about 3 weeks. I visited 5 different places to ask questions and see just what the problems are. It goes way back to county council when we had another problem with people that just got fed up with what's happening at the waste disposal sites and started dumping garbage all over the place, and it turned into be quite a situation. And I got really concerned on when I'm watching the scales going in there, where they were going in and how they were going in and everything else. And my past experiences in the States and at the mine back there where we put in scales and everything, it was a little bit too close, and I couldn't figure out why we built the scales so close to the road, because if you don't have enough room, people are going to be held up with cars on right from 48 all the way to number 7 highway and going over the scales and one thing and another. So I drew up a plan, and I think you have it up on your screen there. Basically, it contained some of the things that I run into before, and I know when I went down to Marmara's quite a distance. You drive probably almost 3 kilometers, and then you go in a kilometer and you maneuver in and out and one thing and another. Where we are, we only have 225 feet from the end of our scales all the way out to our gate. Now, one thing on the drawing, it shows that the scale is back farther than that, but when I measured it, it's not in the place that it shows on your scale. I'm sorry about that, but that's true. And if we say for instance, we put the scale in there, mainly we wanted to find out what our waste weighs. At least that's what I'm understanding. And so the truck comes in, but he can come in any time of the day. He may come in at night, but he has a key to the gate. So what I'm not understanding is, if this is true, are we going to have to pay somebody to get in there because we're on flat rate? And he's got to go over the scales when he comes in and weigh the truck. Then he goes and picks up the waste containers or the recycled containers, and then has to go back over the scale. Who's going to be there to weigh them out? The other thing that I don't understand is when I've talked to Peter and one of the counselors there and the Reeve himself, or the mayor himself, it looks like we're going to come in through the gate as it is now and call everything that our waste is going to be called recycle. And I don't understand that either, because if we move the building where the office is now up by the scales, somebody's going to have to run back and forth there to see what they've got on the truck, or otherwise our recycle bins are going to be full of garbage, and somebody's going to have to get in there. And now the boys down there tell me that happens sometimes as it is. And so the other thing is, when your truck comes off, or say you've got a load of shingles or whatever it might be, these are the things that you really wanted to get the weights of, so you know what to charge the people and one thing and another. And you're going to need at least 75 or 80 feet after you come off the scale for him to make that turn. And my idea was to make a circle right around with that truck, leave your office right where it is, put automatic windows in it, but that person's going to have to stay in there. He can't be running in and out and all over the place. He's going to ask the people, where did they come from? And over in Camelford, they want to know where the license plate is and what have you got on. And it could be under, say, 500 kgs or whatever it is. And they charge them $13. And if he pulls ahead on the scales and he's got a split load, and she'll say, right now you're way over the scale, so she may charge them. She'll push that in. There's a scale there, and maybe charge them another $50. Or if they got a full load of shingles, it's $130. And so all I'm saying to you is this: if you should leave your scale house right where it is now, or your office right where it is now, have that man get in there, run an 85-foot cable, which is cheap, run it over to where our office is there right now. And if you do that, that person can stay in there. He can see what's coming in and tell them what bin to go and put it in, and the whole ball of wax. Then they'll turn right around and come right back down. If they have to, they'll go over the scale and they'll exit. But you're going to need a second gate down there, or a wider gate. Peter's right in that. And I worked 3 or 4 times, but the problem was, after I had a meeting with Mr. Ellis, or Councillor Ellis, and Mayor Martin, and Peter Lawson, I never heard another word back. Told him not to go down there and do any more measuring, and that bothered the heck, and it spent my own money, my own game, and my own time. All I was trying to do was keep the garbage off the doggone roads, and that's what you're going to have, because I'll tell you right now, if these people have to wait 15 minutes, then we're going to have congestion, and they're going to say after about a week, we're not going up there anyway. We'll just drive back here and throw the down garbage out along the road, and then we'll have to put people in our trucks. The other thing is, if we move that office, or build a new office over up where right by the scale, and you don't put a seat or a microphone in there so we can talk to it, who's going to run back and forth? Or are we going to hire another man who's going to see what's coming in for recycle? I can't get any answers on anything, and I'm hoping that somebody there is going to be able to. If you look at my plan up there, I think it's a pretty well thought out thing. I wouldn't even be bothered if I hadn't been in the game for for 45 years, but it would seem here that nobody really wants to ask anybody that knows anything in this whole doggone community. I'm not bragging on myself, but I'm just trying to help. It isn't what's going to happen here, guys. It's what's going to happen to your next council. So I'm trying to just, I'm hoping that you'll take a good look at it, and maybe I'm sitting right here, and if you want me to contact you or you want me to go down there and talk to somebody on what I'm thinking, hey, I'm right here. Anyway, thank you for your time. That's about all I've got to say.
Okay, well, thank you, Pat. And yeah, we did receive we have your drawing here, and we realize all the work you put into it, and a lot of that has been taken into account here, and Peter has it too. You know, as we move forward with this wage scale, I'm sure some of the things you have in here might be implemented, or they may already, or from our consultant that did the original plan. So I'm sure there's going to be things here, and there will be hiccups. We have them all the time, and we'll work through it. We have the same concerns as you. We don't want to see lineups there, so I'm sure Peter will take care of that and make sure that we don't have 15-minute lineups. But that being said, your message here, all of council has it, and Peter has it, and I'm sure it'll be a part of the discussion as we move forward with this. You know, you've spent a lot of time on it. I realize that. And like I say, I think there's some things that might have already been implemented anyways, but as we move forward, you know, you'll see that happen. But I'm going to open it up to council. Does anybody got any questions for Pat Patterson? Larry, go ahead. You're muted.
Through you, Mr. Yes, as Pat indicated, we did meet at the 6th line. As far as getting back to Pat, we did discuss several of those topics today, and as we're taking consideration, some of them implemented. We had sat there with the direction of traffic, and there's a plan in place. I think the things that forward there with and how we work. It's a new process, like any new process, as Pat would know. There are sometimes hiccups, and you have to deal with them. And so we're hoping what Peter has laid out for us is going to work. And if it doesn't, you have to step back and say, what have we got to do to address it? But I'm personally kind of confident, or am confident, that what Pete has set up there is going to work. But it's going to take some training, some guidance, and not going to happen overnight, but to have, as you say, on the road. We've seen it when we went to the clear bag, but that's the individual that'll do that. No respect for their municipality. So that problem has gone away, and so that's really all I'll have to say, except for thank Pat for his time and efforts. I know he has the right thoughts in mind, but again, I'm looking at Peter's layout and hope that everything goes great there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Pat? Okay. Well, thank you, Pat.
Just a minute.
Oh, Gary? Yep.
Just a minute.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Councilor Pomeroy.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Pat for all the work that he's done. It may not be the same as what we have it here. And I'm sure that if we have any glitches, we can incorporate some of Pat's ideas. You know, it works on paper, so it's a man with many years' experience, so we might have to incorporate some of his ideas. So I would just like to thank Pat for all the work that he's done.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there's no other questions for Pat, I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation. Somebody want to move that we receive the
Motion to
delegation?
receive, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Counselor Ellis, seconded by Counselor Webb. All in favor? All in favor? Thank you. A bit of a delay here, so thank you. Thanks, Pat. We will be in touch. Okay, so we're going to move into staff reports for information. Sorry, go ahead,
Yes,
Bob.
through you, Mayor Martin. Just before we move on and away from delegations, I did go and retrieve the bid information with respect to the bids that were received for the purchase of the medical center. So the numbers are as follows. There were 4 bids received, 400,000, 606,000, 567,000, and 610,000. And council chose to accept the local bidder at 567,000, who was prepared to provide a letter to the community explaining the future use of the building. Further to that, Dr. Grover chose to exercise his right of first refusal. He was able to match every one of the conditions, including providing a letter to the community explaining his intentions with the building.
So he matched everything that was in that one bid there, and it had all the conditions. That's the big thing that was with the numbers there, is the conditions that was going to serve the community the best. And I think that's something that needs to be noted. It's easy just to look at numbers, but it's all the conditions around it, right? So, okay, I'll so that's there. So is there anything else, Bob?
No, I think that's it on that item.
I'm getting a bit of a delay here, so just bear with me. Okay, we'll move on to staff reports for information then. Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Motion to take 5-minute break.
Okay, Councillor Webb requesting a 5-minute break. Is everybody okay with that? I'll get a seconder for that. Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, 5-minute break. So we'll come back at quarter, whatever it is, 10 after 11. Oh, there, I forgot the recording. So, okay, somebody want to move that we resume?
Motion to resume, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, all right then. So we have 3 staff reports for information here. The first is the former town hall with Ryan Andrews, and I don't know if anybody has any questions with regards to that. The second one was John Smallwood with his building department activity report. And the third one here was Bob's closed session report. So Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. First of all, I'd like to thank Ryan for his report. And through you, Mr. Mayor, we spoke of the town hall in regards to the upper balcony and trying to fit the ambiance of the old building in regards to the height of the knee wall. I haven't been in there in a while, but if we put that too high, I don't think you'd be able to see very far. So if Ryan is there, could you comment on that, Ryan?
Good morning, through you, Mayor Martin, to Deputy Mayor Giroux's comment. We're in the initial stages of just reviewing what we can, what's possible there. So at this point, I don't really have an update for council in terms of a definitive plan for that. But like I said, we're in the early stages at this point, and I'll bring a report to council in the near future, letting them know what the options are.
All right. Thank you for that, Ryan. I was just concerned that if we build it too high, I realize that even sitting there now, you can't really see that projectile. So thank you for that. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Okay, so is there any, go ahead, Councillor Webb.
Yeah, just wondering on the quotes, we had a range there from 20,000 to 38,000, which is quite a different range. So I was just wondering what those quotes were and what was the final price we decided on.
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Webb's comment, the prices, yeah, there is quite a range on them. The one that we're looking at moving forward with is BBT Building Services. The amount is 31,500. One of the main reasons we decided to go with that was that they're offering a 30-year shingle versus a 10-year shingle and a 15-year shingle provided by other suppliers. We did discuss getting consistent with all having 30-year shingles, but these are what these contractors were comfortable with supplying for a bid, so that's what we're going with.
The low bid, Ryan, who was the low bid? Like, what was the
low
problem?
bid?
Yeah.
Through Mayor Martin, the low bid was Lakeside Exteriors, and the reason we're not moving forward with that is that really the communication has not been well over the last few weeks. I haven't received an updated quote, so we're moving on to the second lowest bid because I know this is a priority of council to get this work completed, so we need to move forward now.
Thank you. Are Lakeside local, Ryan, or not?
Yeah, they are local, yeah.
Okay.
So, and they have been given a lot of opportunity to communicate the price. And
no, I know BVT is local too, so thanks very much for that.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions with regards to Ryan's report or any of the other reports here? If not, I'll take a motion to receive them all at this one. Councillor Webb moving that, and Deputy Mayor Giroux, are you seconding that?
Yes, I am, with a quick comment to our building department. Thank you for your report. Things are moving quite fast by the look of it, John. We're starting the year out with a bang by the look of it. Our vehicles are on the road for sure, and our building commits. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder for the reports for information. I'll call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, then. Next, we're going to move into the action reports here. And so we'll go to Bill. I guess I'm just going to catch up here, but yeah. Is this the report you wanted to get into, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I'll just introduce. Yeah.
Bob?
Okay. Roughly a month ago, council passed a resolution to invite Let Architects Inc. to provide a proposal regarding project management services. That proposal has now been provided. Mr. Let has agreed to be here today to answer any questions. The proposal does provide for an hourly rate to begin the process, and then works through percentages based on the dollar value of the project. So if there are any questions from council, I'm sure Mr. Let will be happy to answer. And I'm not sure, Bill, if you want to add any further comments to the introductory remarks.
Sure, I guess, thank you through you, Mayor Martin, to the remainder of council. This is a standard proposal that we do with other municipalities and a standard vendor of record contract that we're proposing. It includes architectural, structural, mechanical, and electrical engineering services, which is the base. You may have heard of ASME in the past. And that's where that comes from. And what we have proposed, as we indicated, we would when we came to council, is the similar type of approach that we are doing currently with other municipalities in the province of Ontario. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There's a lot there. It's a bit of drinking from the fire hose, but yeah, happy to
Okay, well,
answer. Any
thank you, Bill. It was well done. And any questions for Bill here, council? We're not seeing any. Deputy Mayor Droe, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Lett. Thank you very much for all your presentation here. It's a lengthy one. It was a good read. Very well done. With your staff, the amount of staff you have, which is abundant by the look of it. How long, this is an unfair question, but I have to ask it. If we were to have an opportunity to move fairly quickly on a project such as, let's say, what we call in our Midtown project. You're not really too familiar with that, I don't think, but let's say it's a municipal office with a public works yard. What kind of time frame would you have to look at in order to bring something in the primary stages back to council?
Great question. Through you, Mayor Martin, to Deputy Mayor Giroux. We can be pretty agile. I think the reality is what we want to do is we want to understand what the drivers are for the project and why, we need to do something. Really what we have to work with on a project is, if you picture an equilateral triangle, on one tip is quality, on one tip is schedule, on one tip is cost. And, in some cases, if we've got a grant requirement, then a lot of times schedule is the driver. So we're currently working on a project that has federal and provincial grants. And so that's the driver of the project. So all the decisions are being made. So to preliminary work, as long as we've got the attention of all the stakeholders involved in the project, example that you've given with regard to a new municipal office in a public works yard, you want to make sure we want to make sure that we do the due diligence up front. When we came to present to you, we called it crawl, walk, run. We want to crawl first to understand. These are assets the municipality is going to have for some time. So we want to make sure we get those right. But that's not to say that we can't work quickly and in an agile manner in order to get some of the preliminary finding quickly. Like, the reality is, if we were to do what we call a functional program in the project, which is just with your staff and with council, municipal building, this is what we need. We need a council chamber of council needs to have this much audio. We need to have staff offices for this number of people, etc. Scenario planning for the council and say, these are the work that we've, speaking, this type of building is going to cost you 4 square foot. The functional programming is showing a gross square footage for this building that we can fit this gross square footage potentially in 2 floors. Like, there's a
Recording.
It's
Thank you for that, Bill. I really appreciate it. And the reason I asked the question, and I know you explained it very well before, but public understood it. We've had discussions about public maybe not understanding things, so I wanted them to hear it from you. Thank you.
And yeah, that's a good point, Dave. And yeah, it does have in the recommendation everything that we're looking for here, and it's with regards to our community center upgrades, the Public Works Depot and the construction of a new municipal office. So exactly, that's what we need to get out there, that we are looking at everything and there will be a process. So
in the future, items like you just spoke to, so big time. Thank you.
So is there any other questions for Bill? I appreciate your report here, or your file here that you gave us, Bill, and I really like the process that you go through about I think you worded it as a strategic planning session where we get everything on paper that we're looking for in this building, even with some wish lists on there, and see they may be the first to fall off, but hopefully, like you say, we can do it right and come close on the first rendition. So yeah, this is really good, and really looking forward to it. So is there any other questions? If not, I'll thank Bill for coming and look forward to the next step. But the recommendation is here. Does anybody want to make a motion? Councillor Webb, you're moving that? Okay, moved by Councillor Webb that we go with the recommendation here. Do I have a seconder?
Second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. No other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. So thank you, Bill, and we look forward to the next part.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Councillor
Council.
Ellis, go ahead.
I'll be in touch, Bill.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what the council chambers have a microphone that's maybe on that shouldn't be, because we're hearing the chat from the council chambers and hard to hear Bob.
Okay. Yeah, there was something there. I think it's cleared up now. Okay.
Make sure to turn your sounds down. David.
I think I'm off. I'm off. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We'll move into the which order do you want to do this, Bob? We'll do the final draft or the final budget presentation.
Yes, that's fine. We'll go back to the proper order.
Okay. All right, then, David, welcome, and yeah, if you could bring your presentation up, it would be great.
Second, I just kicked out here.
Need a minute, David?
No, I think I've got it here.
Mayor Martin, why don't we move on to number 3 and then we'll come back to David.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move into number 3 here, and that's with regards to the sale of the medical center. So, Bob, do you want to go ahead with this?
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin. So further to delegations that were received today. The public input is the final condition that needs to be met. So now it's time for council to either confirm the sale or abandon the sale and move on to something else.
Okay. All right then. So we did have some good delegations today, and we had a lot of good reading over the weekend as far as what people are thinking. Like I said, they were all over the place as far as some understand, some don't understand. But that being said, it's up to us to make a decision here, and I'm going to open it up to council. So what's your thoughts here? The recommendations are there before you. And does somebody want, whoop. Okay, I think the treasurer's thing is coming in, but if I could get that shut off just for a second there, David, just so I can see everyone. Okay. I lost council chamber, there it is. So what's your thoughts, council? There's a recommendation here, and you know, there was a lot of information received today, and over the weekend we did a lot of reading or thing. So what's your thoughts? Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Excuse me, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, we had some great feedback from this whole scenario. Even though some of the people that were not supporting it were in the last correspondence I had last night from Mr. Sharp, were from Edmonton and quite an array of places across the province. That didn't enter into the fact that I did take into consideration everybody's thoughts. But I still feel strongly about this. We're going to move forward. Therefore, I'm making a motion to proceed with the sale.
Okay. All right, so I have a mover that we proceed with the sale. Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
With a comment, I'll second the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to follow up on Deputy Mayor Giroux's comments about the feedback we get. As we all know, we're in an election mode already here. And if we stop and think about, as Deputy Mayor Giroux said, they come from all over, the people that had no input actually to the sale of the medical center. And as you stated earlier, Mayor Martin, we did take all of this in consideration. We didn't take this lightly, and we think we're doing the best thing for the municipality. And I don't think that, I totally believe it. So I could carry on more and more about some of the comments that came in. There were positive ones, those that weren't thinking for a self-serving reason. So again, if you go out in the general public and you talk to people, forget the stuff that we read on Facebook. Talk to people in the public. They know we're looking after their best interest, and they will see eventually. So, but I am seconding Deputy Mayor Giroux's comment, motion.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there any other comments around this this recommendation? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think this is an important decision, and I'm asking for a recorded vote.
Okay. Bob, recorded vote.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So the motion moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, seconded by Councillor Ellis, is to proceed with the sale of the medical center. We will now proceed with a recorded vote. And I'm just going around. My screen will be different than yours, so I'll just go around my screen here and try to catch everyone. So Deputy Mayor Giroux, yea or nay?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Webb?
You're muted.
I was just doing that for a fact, Jim.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Martin is yes. Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Martin is yes. Councillor Ellis?
Yes.
Councillor Ellis is yes. And finally, Councillor Pomeroy. Yay. What you vote for? Councillor Pomeroy is a yay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, all right then. So it's carried, and you know, moving forward, I think even with some of the stuff that came from Letta Engineering and several council have said that we gotta, get the word out there. This will be an opportunity to move this along, and I think most will understand once they see everything, and that's the problem, I guess. Maybe there's a little bit of a lack of communication, but for the most part, I think everything was done, and thank you, everyone. So no decision is easy, and that's one of the ones that is a tough one. So, okay, so we're gonna move on to our treasurer's budget report. Sorry, David, you finally got it up there, and then we had to shut it off. So hopefully you can get it back up there again.
Okay. Coming out. Okay, good. Okay, to begin, thank you for everyone for your patience in getting this far. I was very keen to advance how the budget was presented this year with a line of sight as we move through cash in and cash out. Whether we're talking about grants, reserves, other or tax or grants before our reserves, others could be fees and such, and then the last resort would be taxes. So with that in mind, I'd like to give a quick example. We're now up to 64 slides, so I want to keep this at a fairly high level. What I would like to offer the councillors is an updated binder, and the presentation I'm doing today will also be available on our website for anyone who's keen to step through it in detail. I'll move left to right. We skipped over this piece of work here, which allowed us to really get granular as to what decisions we're going to make or not make. I'm sure everyone was tired of these sheets, but that allowed us to drive the model forward to a point now where we're looking at our tax rate, which for people that saw it, we're at 2.2% for the year. On $100,000, that's equivalent of $4.10 per increase on $100,000 increments. When I speak about line of sight and wanting to get more granular on this information, I'll pull up the example on a capital spends or CapEx. I've now broken out by department, by category, by project description, total budget, and then how we're going to fund it, moving left to right, grants, reserves, other taxes. Did well on utilizing the grants we've earned out this year. Touched on some of the reserves, but we're I shouldn't say wealthy. We're flush in our reserves, north of 60 million. So that should give you a sense of how I've drilled down. So here, I'm waiting for the screen to catch up. Sorry, we're a bit slow here. So here you can see our total spend, CapEx, 6.6 million. And we used 2.7 million in grants, and the remainder came from reserves. But we've also topped back up the reserves as we go through it. So I'm moving in now to administration, for instance. And when I talk about line of sight or details, granular details on the operating budget notes, you'll see here a note on each point. I've summed up the wages all the way through down to minute levels in the operating budget. And then I've gone into the reserve details. Sorry, the screen is slow to catch up. You'll see here the detail of the reserves, 2021 versus 2022, and the difference year over year. So this year we're actually contributing a bit less, 26,000, but the transfer is healthy, and most of that comes from the OMPF, I'm sure people, which is available for all departments. You'll see total expenditures, what it was for, and how it was funded or financed. And the same thing goes across each. I don't want to put everyone to sleep here, but I'm now on the council tab. If you look at the difference between our 2022 budget versus 21, that will drill down into what our year-over-year changes. Sorry, I'm talking too quickly as the screen catches up, but just one second. Okay. Sorry, it's slow to catch up here. Okay, when I said the difference, well, the difference year-over-year change or the tax increase are what we're going to have to fund out of taxes is the 4.989, specifically for the council initiatives. And here you have the summary of the reserves. Sorry, it's slow, guys. Can everyone see that? It's kind of blurred here on our slide.
Yep.
Okay, good. And where it becomes more important would be a more capital intensive department like Parks and Rec, where we're doing a lot of things this year. There's a lot of things that were on the docket. Everyone's very familiar with the sheet here that's going to come up. I think people are tired of seeing this detailed sheet, so I want to show you the reason why this part makes sense. So essentially, this is boiled down into a straightforward chart here. So here you have the breakout of operating, transfers, capital, and the year-over-year change. Expenditures are on the left, revenues are on the right, and it's how we funded each of these buckets. Year-over-year change, or the total we're going to pull out of taxes, is 12,631. And if we go through the operating budget summary charges, you'll see how that's accounted for. Going over here, we're again operating notes across each line item, what it means, why it happened, and how it's being tracked and flowing through. We have our capital details, each capital expense, again, how it's been funded, and summing it up year over year. So 1.5, Ryan's department did very well in the grants, north of 1 million in grants. Some are still conditional, but we're confident that we're going to get good news here shortly. And the remaining amount is pulled from the reserves. So 1.5, again, 1.1 from grants, and the remaining 400,000. I'm speaking high level in terms of my math and rounding, but that's how it flows. Any questions here?
No, I think that, Dave, you could keep it at a high level there, David, and then show us your sheet with regards to the water and then the other operating and capital high level, and then we can see where it goes here.
Let's bounce over here to, we've got our waste as well. Same scenario. I'll shuffle through here to our water year over year is operated a break even, if you will, or a 0% increase. It's the same for water and for our sewer rates. It's accounted for here, the year over change. You'll see here that I'll wait for the screen to catch up. Total taxes for the water department is 0. And the year-over-year change in the operating budget is accounted for by that. Here is our capital expenditures for the water. We've also detailed the reserves and the reserve balances. You'll see here on the reserves year over year, we're contributing again another 178,000. There's no change, but we're consistently reserving money or parking money back into the reserves. Here on the expenditures, there's a lot going on in water right now. The highlight is George Street, of course. Priorities for HBM based on surveys, based on everyone's, and George Street is a struggle, which is soon to get a facelift. So this is how George Street, 1.7 million expenditure, 1 million in grants. We're waiting for that final approval, and the remaining is being pulled from reserves at the 700,000. So that's how it flows through here. Previous 5 years of budgeting for HPM, we didn't have line of sight on the revenue. Wasn't rolling through correctly into grants and reserves, and it was really throwing a dart at a dartboard. So I wanted to clean that up, which is the reason why I feel this makes sense going forward. And it's the same thing again with sewer. Year-over-year change is operating at a break even. There are some capital intense projects going on. Wait for the slide to catch up to us here. Okay, here we go. So here it's the format that we've discussed. Again, we're contributing more to reserves this year. You'll notice here we're contributing 485,000. And sorry, hopefully everyone can see that. And this is again the capital details across each of the line items. We've got a roof replacement. We've got the Aqua's CapEx schedule. We've got a possible cell expansion. We've got an infrastructure plan, and then we've got our sanitary sewer on George Street. So I don't want to repeat myself, but that's the buildup of how things flow through the model, and how cash in and cash out and traceability and accountability for all department heads. We can now have quarterly updates and see that we're on point with all these capital projects. I'll pause. Again, I look forward to updating the binders, having a master copy, and hopefully if this resonates, it can be a template that's used going forward. Thank you everyone for your time.
All right, well, thank you, David. And yeah, it's been a good presentation, and we've seen lots of numbers over the past few months. So we've there's lots of good things in this budget. Some things have been waiting a long time. As we talked about at one of our delegations, things change. Sometimes you have to move on the fly, and I'm sure hopefully some of these grants come through. Some of them numbers are going to be juggled, and it's just you got to plan on not getting the grant, and if it comes through, we'll probably see a little bit of changes happen there. But you know, we're addressing a lot of roads. You know, we got George Street on the books there finally. That's a big thing. You know, splash pad, and then we got some environmental money in there. So I think it's a good wide range of things that we can do here, and I do think it's a good budget. So I'll open it up to council. Just that one sheet that you had, David, the one with the percentage increase and 100,000 per 100,000, and I guess the water rate you had that on one of the things there too. So water and sewer. So and I'll open it up to council. If they don't need to see them, we'll just open the screen up. What's council's thoughts? Do you need to see all those numbers again, or did you have it in what you're voting on here? Okay. Okay, I'll open it up here to council. Anybody got any questions? I can't see everyone, so just yell if I'm not answering. There you go. So Dave, and then Councillor Ellis and Councillor Pomeroy, I see.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Martin. Thank you, David. This was a lengthy process. Certainly, our deliverance of the budget was different this year. Very well done. Very appreciated. It was easy to follow, and I don't know what else to say. It was well done, and I'm sure that rest of council feel the same. I will let them speak to that, but I feel that the percentage we've gotten this down to, each department contributed a lot to get to where we are. So thank you, Mayor Martin.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Without repeating what Deputy Mayor Giroux has stated, was almost a pleasure to go through this budget with David and how he's presenting and showing us the numbers. I got a question though. Are we going to see a paper copy of the budget before we pass it? I do have a couple of questions that I would like to ask David. And it's more around not so much numbers, but the language. If we're going to get a paper copy before we pass this budget, then that'll give me time to address the items.
So today was the day to pass the bylaw. We kind of passed the budget at the last meeting as far as we passed the draft budget, and now it's to bring it to the public for, well, it was already a public meeting, but today would be to pass the bylaw so we can get this thing moving as far as some of the projects that are in there. But so just keep that in mind anyways, Larry.
Okay, I can ask because I've got a couple of notes here. I think I'll probably be able to. It was kind of addressing one topic really. As you know, or as council knows, I was not in favor of purchasing 3 more new vehicles, 1 for the fire department and 2 for Parks and Rec. And the vehicle for the fire department we put off, but it states, and part of that reasoning was we were looking for information back about rental possibly. But it states, for an example, for the truck for the deputy fire chief, not this year, but in 2023. And I didn't get a chance to review the video of that meeting, but that wasn't what I understood for that particular truck. The other 2 trucks, it states that we're going to possibly purchase 1, and I didn't understand that in the meeting as well, but it's in the budget of $48,000 for Parks and Rec vehicle. So that was something I wanted to get clear before I voted on the budget, and I indicated I thought we were getting a paper copy before, and that way I could clear those questions up in my own mind.
Okay, David might be able to answer them. From what I remember is the trucks aren't in the budget. I thought they was going to go through the committee still to see on to finalize that part of it. But I'll let, if David can answer, I don't want to put him on the spot, but if you can answer that, David, go ahead. If not, yeah, the next one was Barry. I did see your hand there, Barry. So, but David, can you answer that at all, or?
Certainly, through you, Mayor, I can please rest assured that the feedback and the direction and incorporating or pulling out all the trucks from this year's budget has absolutely been answered to. And it's in the capital tab, excuse me, in the capital tab here that I have in front of me, where I've broken out line by each department. So absolutely, Councillor Ellis, there are not trucks factored in the capital spend for 2022.
Okay, again, just wanted to echo Deputy Mayor Groh's comments about how you handled the budget and how you presented it was great. Hats off to all the staff and this council for holding the line, and we've set the bar a little higher for the next council that comes into play. Just proves that what we've done here this year can be done. We're still doing all kinds of good things for the municipality. We're not cutting corners in any way. Matter of fact, I think we're offering more than we ever have. And just my comments on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Okay, Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Part of my question is answered by David because I seen that $48,000 for parks. And I was under the impression that the committee was supposed to meet and try to sort some of this out, but I guess we got lots of time if they've all been pulled. I'm an old paper guy, so I like to see the final on paper before. It looks good, it's like I'm hearing it well, but I would like to see it on paper. I'm just Reiterate Larry's concerns there too, and his comments.
Okay. So that's not, I don't know how we're gonna do that as far as we are holding up all the projects to, until this budget's passed. So, today's, like, we did this discussion at the last meeting, and that's why it came forward for, to vote on it today to pass the bylaw. I just hate to see the roads held up because as it is now, we're up against it here to try and get contractors. So, anyways, well, sorry. I've seen Larry's hand.
Give me a couple of minutes, Jim.
I know Larry doesn't have that.
I'll,
Okay, thank you, David.
through you, Mayor Martin, if you will, I'll bring up the capital expenditures, which, and I appreciate everyone's wish to see it. If we can step through it on the screen here, and I'm happy to email this capital version out. Whatever suffices. So administration, we have the telephone system, the photocopier, the AV chamber, human resource plan and the municipal plans. Council, the council initiatives, we have the Peninsula Dock. The Ball Diamond Initiative. Planning and Economic Development. We have the CIP plan. Fire, absolutely there, the carryovers have been earmarked. Total spend in fire is 111,000 across hoses, pumps, masks.
See, we off the gravel hall, which I knew, so, which is good. We need it.
Okay.
Heavy equipment, 65, 330. Oh, that's that lease, okay.
Yes, yes, correct, yeah. That's the front end loader. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that would conclude on the shared screen across each department. We're ending on parks and recreation and facilities right now.
David, if I could just follow up on a comment that was made in one of our delegations regarding the medical center. Those funds have not yet been received from the sale. So there's not, those funds are not in there yet.
No. Through your Mayor Martin, the sale, the pending sale, whatever, which I realize the decision isn't final yet. It's been discussed. It was mentioned in the previous session that it could potentially flow through to a reserve for the new medical center, but that's as far as it's been discussed, and it's not in the budget.
So that's where it will go to, I would think. So.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, that was the direction of council, so that's where it will go. I'm just clarifying that those funds haven't been received yet.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the big question was around the trucks, and they're not in there.
So
So
we can pass it.
that's what I'm hoping. So,
I've read it here now, Jim. I've got the sheets. David was so kind.
I feel better now. So, okay.
He's happy now.
Okay, so if we could get this off the screen then, David, and we'll, and I'll just finish if the council has any questions. Other than that, we'll look for a motion well, we'll move into the bylaw later, so. Or we can do the bylaw now. Councillor Ellis, go
I'm
ahead.
satisfied with the comments from David on the budget, so I'm good to go.
Okay. All right, so you know what? Is there any other questions around the budget? If not, I'll maybe bring that bylaw forward here and deal with it right now. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Yes, I think we spoke to this long enough. I myself didn't have any questions in regards to this, so I'm prepared to move the bylaw forward. Thank you.
Okay, a motion to move the bylaw for 2020, adopt the 2022 budget for the township,
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
seconded by Councillor Ellis. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's good. Thank you. So we have a budget. A lot of work. Thank you, everyone, for all the work that went into that. And like I say, it's a good budget. So, okay, so we'll move on then. Our next item here is correspondence, and we have two action items here. The first item here was Janet and Sharon, and it's about they've been picking garbage up on the second line and think that they should get their taxes reduced for that. But if we did that, there's a lot of people would be looking for tax reductions because there's a lot of people that pick garbage, and especially in the last couple of weeks. A lot of people have been doing their part to pick garbage up and clean up our roads, and we do it every year. It's been a little hard during this pandemic, but we see it every year where, you know, probably 100 or 200 people get together and pick garbage for the day. So we should thank them for it, but there's no way you can do a tax thing. Go ahead, Councillor Pomeroy.
Yes, I would make a motion that we receive this and send a note of thanks.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we send a note of thanks and receive that, and seconded by Councillor Ellis with a comment.
So I'm quite sure these are the same people that done their cleanup duties last year for us on the second line. And council will probably remember we added don't dump on the road signs in several areas on the arteries to the 6-line transfer station. It seems to help in some areas, but obviously the signs that were placed on the second line didn't have much influence on the people that want to throw garbage on our roads. But thank them anyway. That's great.
Okay. All right then. So the next item on here was Pat Patterson with regards to paying for engineered drawings for the ramp. And I'm going to open it up to council. I think this is something that we've dealt with in the budget. I think it's in the budget. If it's not, we talked about it enough that it's something that the township should take care of. But it's totally up to council here. I think it's one of those things that we are going to be looking for them to help us in other areas, and I just don't know whether this is the spot. So,
motion to receive.
Okay, moved by Councillor Webb to receive. I'll look for a seconder, and then Deputy Mayor Giroux, you had a comment. Go ahead, Dave. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
I will second that with a comment. I couldn't support this. Just couldn't support it. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder that we received the, and you know, we will have some discussion with the jammers. Like I say, there's lots of opportunity moving forward, but right now this is something we got to get done, and we'll get her done here as soon as possible. So if there's no other questions on that, I'll call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we have several items here for information. If there's anything you want to pull out of there, it was nice to see Huckleberg thank us for the use of the library. And then there is the one item there from MPP Smith. I don't know whether anybody wants to speak to that, but that was the letter about pulling So anyways, is there anything there? If there's nothing, I'll take a motion to receive everything. Councillor Pomeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, some of the correspondence, the Havelock Water Wastewater Treatment Plant, they want some feedback from concerned citizens, which, you know, we represent. And I think that we should maybe get together somehow and maybe pull some questions for Aqua for the public meeting here. I don't know who has questions and who doesn't, but it's, we should have some input. We don't know what they're doing for sure, whether they're gonna use one of the lagoons or they're not, or they're just expanding the plant. There's quite a bit of information that we don't have. So I'm okay, Bob, maybe you can help me.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, just to respond to the comments from Councillor Pomeroy. The environmental assessment, the Public Information Center for the environmental assessment process will stay live on our website until the close of business on Thursday. Aqua has been receiving comments. Following the close of that process, there will be a presentation to council to provide an update as to what the findings were and what the plan is going forward.
Okay. All right then. So Bob, go ahead. Or sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine and good, but you know, who's responsible here in the end? You know, we are, and maybe we have some ideas and maybe we don't, but I think, you know, if they were sent in and as a group, what one can think of, maybe the other one can think of too. Or are we gonna wait till we have the meeting and then produce our concerns?
I think,
because maybe we should, I don't know.
yeah, I think it's like Bob said, once they're finished this process, they're gonna bring it back up. It's us that makes the final decision. It always is. So hopefully they have some options there.
Okay.
Okay. All right then. So the balance there, and like I say, the MPP Smith letter that was in our just to receive, but it does have our motion in there that we request the province assign the licenses to us. And I know we were all at a meeting a couple of weeks ago and he said there's news to come. So we can see what's coming forward, but you know, hopefully something comes soon. So anyways, so if there's no other things in correspondence there for information, I'll take a motion to receive it. Moved by Councillor Webb. Seconder. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor. And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move into liaison reports, and the first item in here is a council update. And I didn't have anything wrote down. I was in holiday mode, so I don't know if Dave has anything for that part of it.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. In regards to county council, get my notes out here. We had the draft development agreement bylaw update, and council had three options. One option was to move forward with a full bylaw change when it comes to the development of the charges, or the difference in the price, or a phase-in time, or no change at all. They went with the council decided that they were going to go with the discussion. So I don't know where HBM stands in this actually for our development charges, but it affects most of the other townships. So Other than that, it was there wasn't anything in particular that stood out for our municipality. We talked about as a whole that would affect our township is the regulation of election signs based on county rights of way and on private property. So that report will probably come to our CAO and council will probably get a draft of that. Other than that, it was a kind of a generic meeting to deal with county as a whole. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I don't think I have anything other than what's on my EOTA minutes, and that'll come up next, I guess.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. And that just leads right into that then. Dave, we'll move into our liaison report. So Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a short question for Deputy Mayor. Could you expand a little bit on development charges for and how it affects HPM?
Well, I can't because I will ask, John, our CAO, Chief Building Official. You still on, John?
Yes, I
Thank
am.
you. You bailed me out of a pail here, and you've been on that committee for some time, and you can explain it quite well. As you've explained it to me along with the county several times. So if you could help me out here, I'd appreciate it.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So on new construction or new development, the county has a development charge which is implemented on all new dwellings that's constructed. Presently on a single family dwelling, there's two different sizes, but it runs approximately $8,500. And it was said in the bylaw that there would be an automatic increase every year. And I believe that is under debate right now, what the increase would be for this year.
Thank you, John.
Okay. All right then. Well, that's good then. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I was away for that meeting, so thank you for that. So, okay, so we might as well move right into your next report there, Eastern Trails Alliance. We do have minutes there. I know most of us have probably read them. So I don't know if there's nothing to add there, Dave. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes. Do you have anything to add to them?
No, I don't. I think Bob and I spoke. I'm not sure. I think I'll bring the other issue up under new business. So I don't have anything to add to the minutes, but I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so
make a motion to receive.
Okay, so Dave's moved to receive the minutes and the seconder for that, and then I'll open up for questions. Councilor Ellis is seconding that. If there's no questions, I'll look for motion to approve. And that's carried. So, okay, so the next item there is Councilor Pomeroy with regards to there's some minutes there from the February 24th meeting, and he attended the library board meeting on March 24th. Is there any questions around the minutes? If not, I'll look for a motion to receive them. Moved by Councilor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I have a question on the 29th, on the 29th meeting. The Sandy Harris and Chairperson Robbie I sent another letter to the council about the space in the Havelock Library and the programs that they want to offer down there. And I'm sure that they would like an answer on whether they can use that space, and they would like to share it with the Historical Society. I can't give them an answer because the last time I asked, somebody said you were going to move old furniture down there. Well, it seems awful sad that you'd move furniture from the medical center to a room that was once our own library before the Huckabee came along. And further to that, I think, David, they're after you for the 2019, 2020. Yep, okay, so. Other than that, they would like an answer on, can they have the space? Huckabug's not there, haven't been there for, well, home to bake cookies for 2 years. So,
I think they moved their stuff out on the weekend. I think I've seen some online. Bob, do you have something there?
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin. Further to council direction, I have reached out to library board and requested more information, more detail regarding their arrangement.
did I not produce that the last time? That's.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, Councillor Pomeroy did bring a letter and council requested more information. So I have reached out.
What do we need for more information? This is what I'm getting at, here we either slough it off or it's something that's important.
Also, I asked for some questions on when it's going to be open and what their plans are, a little more detail than what was in what they gave us. Like, I don't want to see us move all the stuff from the town hall over there and it sits down there. I hope they're going to open it up and have it open 1 day a week, 2 days a week, or the students down there. I just wanted a little more detail, and that's all that was around. Larry, you had something?
Yeah, it's through you, Mr. Mayor, regarding Councilor Pomeroy's comments as well. Has there been any communication? We talk about the Historical Society going in there to share a room. Has there been any communication to, I guess it would be Diane Mack, about the specific move with the Historical Society sharing with the library? We've talked about it, but has anybody reached out to Diane Mack? There's going to be a lot of planning there because we don't want it just packed up and moved in. It should be displayed properly. So I'm asking is there or should we be getting communication to Diane Mack?
I don't know if Bob's talked or the library board, but Councillor Webb, you have something there?
Yeah, I'm taking care of another matter for Diane, and I didn't mention this to her on the weekend. She knows really nothing about it. She's kind of heard the rumors that they might end up there, but in terms of a decision being made or, actual historical items being moved from one place to another, she didn't know anything about it. So perhaps we should be in contact with her before we start down this road.
Okay. All right, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's sat empty now for a couple of years, and then now you're worried about, the program. They do have a program. They had, for kids and the whole ball of wax, the library did. You seen the agreement that, they were supposed to have with Huckabug. They had it all divided off. We had a copy of that. But rather than the building sit empty, why can't we not use it? This is
So
I can't even.
you did have the letter there, Barry, and it's up to council. If you want to pass the part about, it sounds like the library board has a plan, but I think we need more information on the historical side of things, but they have full use of it now. It's empty. If they want to, I guess that's up to council here, but they can use it. But it would be nice if they were talking to Diane, and it sounds like something needs to happen there because I don't want to see the stuff move over there, especially now that we're redoing the town hall. It may be a place where it stays. So I think that, like Larry said, there's a lot of discussion around this on how it, like all the little pieces. But as far as for the library board and their letter, if they need the space down there and council wants to do that today, they can say you can have one of the rooms down there to do some of your classes. But it's up to council. I'm just going to open up to council and see where you want to go. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, I agree with your comments. Only thing that I would not want council to be in the middle between the library board and the Historical Society. I think our staff should be the one that reaches out to the Historical Society, see what they require, see how much space they need, how many days a week they're going to be open, if they want it, or even if they want it. So That's my
Okay,
comment.
okay. Thank you. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a library board meeting on Thursday night, so I would like some info to go back. You know, this has been ongoing now for over 2 years, so I think it'd only be fair that we use it rather than have it sit empty. And it was the library board, it was the library part of it, they used it for storage before Huckabug went in there, so.
So we can open it up, like I say here, if the library board wants to use it, it's just, we need to see the historical society. Maybe that's how it should be worded, is we need to talk with the historical society and see what their plans are and if they even want to move over there. It sounds like they were put in there, but they haven't even talked to them. So that's the thing there that we got to do right here. So Larry, go ahead, and then let's move on with this.
Just going to ask if Deputy Mayor Giroux was making a motion there to contact Diane Mack.
We're making a motion that staff be directed to contact whoever is in charge of the Historical Society. If it's Diane Mack, that's fine. I don't know that it is, but whoever it is, that was my motion.
And I'll second the motion. And Diane Mack is probably one or maybe the only one that's still kind of struggling to keep the Historical Society going. I did speak with her back probably a year ago now when we knew the lease was up, and they're sure interested in getting a display area as in the lower library. So I'll second Deputy Mayor Giroux's motion.
Okay, if there's any other questions, speak to the motion, that we invite or the staff invites or have some discussion with the Historical Society and see what their plans are, if that's their intention. Because it was the intention last term too. She was excited about it, but we haven't talked to her yet. So, okay, mover and a seconder. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. So Barry, you got your meeting. Go ahead.
I got another question.
Yeah.
You said, well, maybe they could just go ahead. Maybe they could just go ahead and use it, the library board, until,
You can ask council that.
you know. You were the one that suggested that we could.
I suggested that if council wants to do that, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's kind of jumping the gun, but that's up to council. If you want to give the library board permission to use it, you know, it's there. It's up to council. It's not up to me here. That's I think we've started a process here that should, you know, we can get the feedback from the Historical Society and put the whole package together and do it right.
Okay.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
That's my preference. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, then. So did we, for the library board minutes and the meeting, we had a mover and a seconder, did we, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we had a mover, Councillor Pomeroy moved, no seconder yet.
Okay, somebody want to second that we received the reports there? Yep, Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda was written or oral notice of motions, and I don't see any here. So we'll move into other business. And there's a couple things here on other business. The first was Larry and Barry. I don't know, Larry, did you have something separate, or are they both together with regards to Ontario Good Roads?
Both together in regards to Good Roads, just some comments. The Ontario Good Roads was, to me, a success this year. Lots of vendors, people to contact. Pete, who was well introduced to a lot of people there. Councillor Pomeroy took him and got him introduced to a lot of people he does business with. And it's always nice to come back from those conventions with some good information or some help for the community. One of the little things that I found while I was there was the company I gave the information to Bob, as well as a card and his email from the company, but they were quite sure that they could set our municipality up in the chamber with good video, good audio. So I gave that information to Bob, and he's going to follow up with those guys. They were going to email Bob actually, but yeah, good conference. Again, some good presentations, a couple of keynote speakers that I hate to be negative, but on a negative note, two of the keynote speakers were from across the pond, the good old USA. And although they were very intelligent guys and delivered a good message, when you're sitting there at an Ontario Good Roads Convention, you would think that the presenters would be from somewhere in Canada. But hate to be negative, but I wasn't the only one that felt that way as well. But anyway, over and all, a good conference. And I hope Pete enjoyed it because, like I say, there was lots of good contacts there for him. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. Larry pretty much covered it all. My big thing was getting Peter around, taking him by the hand and introducing to different people. The funny part of it is he got to talk to people that he's dealt with on the phone, you know, and then the guy pulls down his mask and says, "This is the real face," eh? But he's come back with some ideas too. We might want to spend a bit of money on something. So overall, it was great, and it was good for him because it's the first time out for him, and I think he learned quite a bit, and he was pleased to see that the contacts, you know, had a face.
Fully jumping, Barry. We need to send you to more conferences. This is the first time I heard you say spend money.
Yeah, but it's not coming out of council initiatives.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sure Councillor Pomeroy would like to comment on the presentation to our Minister Mulrooney. He done a great job. I didn't steal your thunder, Councillor Pomeroy.
Barry?
That's all right, sir. We did make a presentation. I thought it went over good, and the rest of council thanked me, so I guess I didn't do that bad a job. I didn't come home with a warm fuzzy feeling about it, but at least we made the presentation, and we added a little bit more to it than what was on the presentation. It was all well and good.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you. So the next on the list here was Deputy Mayor Giroux with you were at the Good Roads too, and then you had an update for the OTA.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't repeat much about the Good Roads other than the fact that we did enjoy meeting the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Carolyn Mulroney. I did come away feeling that they would be communicating more than they have in the past. Peter and I both recognized some people that were in the room that has been in our council chambers in the past. So I do feel that there is maybe a spark of light at the end of the tunnel. So that's just my comments. An update on the EOT trail. As council has known in the past, there's a section of trail between County Road 50 and the 6th line that the ATV club for some 10 years have been leasing. They felt that they didn't need to lease that anymore, and we're looking for some assistance from each of the municipality or EOTA. So Bob and I have been working on this diligently for some time, and we went to a staff member, Sonia, to get some more information. And we have to go, we're going to go back a little bit. About the time that HBM purchased the rail line, which is in HBM, the time the province decided to go from paper to digital when it comes to land surveys. So everything's on digital now. So there were some things lost. I can tell you of a couple of pieces of property that they're in no man's land. Nobody knows who owns them or whatever. So we got Sonia to look up some information. And the way we see it, HBM owns that stretch of trail between County Road 50 and the 6th line. Until somebody determines differently, such as the CP rail, that's the way we're going to treat it. So I don't think it's necessary to enter into an agreement with CP rail, as our documents show we own it. So that status quo, it's going to stay the way they are. So I hope that I hope I've explained that to council, and we're just going to carry on the way things are. Bob, if you want to add anything to that, you're quite welcome to. So thank you, Sonia, for helping us with that.
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, I think Deputy Mayor Jerome summarized it very well. Our building department assistant, Sonia, was extremely helpful on this matter, and based on what she was able to discover for us, I think we can proceed as we are and leave this matter alone and as completed for now.
Perfect. Okay. So that's all that's listed on new business here. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get back in time to get anything on here. So Celebrate Havelock is moving ahead really well. We're getting down to the final stretch here. They were supposed to have a letter in for this meeting requesting some assistance if there was any out there for a couple of things that they're doing, but they didn't have time to get it done. So the letter didn't make it. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll see. I have a meeting tomorrow night for it. I'll see where they're at. It's with regards to the bags, and they were going to ask if council wanted to be a sponsor on that to help us with that part of it. We're really up against it here with being out of it for 2 years. It's sold out completely. We're moving people outside now. We don't have a tent this year because we couldn't afford the tent. We didn't have a sponsor for it. So yeah, there's a couple things that'll be different this year, but for the most part, it should be a good show and everybody's excited. So I'll leave it at that. Deputy Mayor Joe, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, in regards to the bags, what is the time frame? I'd like to see our council, our municipality. I mean, this is Celebrate Havelock. This is our one of our chances a year to make a splash in our municipality. We have a great turnout. We have since the very beginning. I just wonder if council participates in this, purchasing the bags. The time frame, I'd like to see our logo on the bag, for instance. Do you have any kind of a time frame? The bags have to be ordered for, or get our logo on them?
The last email I seen last night was one of the sponsors sent their logo in yesterday. So it's pretty soon here. Because I think, what is it, 2 or 3 weeks away? So yeah, I would probably have to be it'll be before our next meeting. So yeah, so that's where we're at now. Debbie's working on it right now, so to try and get all the sponsors on there. So
it's too early. I don't think it would be appropriate to make a motion today, but I suppose if I had known when the notice of motion about this, I could have made a notice of motion that next week or next meeting, I would make a motion that council pay for the bags up to a certain amount.
okay, thank you. Councillor Pomeroy had his hand up, and then Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, that's completely different topic.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor, it's
I'll finish this talk. Yeah, I'll just finish this up. And like I say, I wasn't here last week, and if Deputy Mayor Dro wanted to put that in with the notice of motion, that would work for the next meeting, and we can see what we can do. So just let me finish. Larry, were you about this, or were you about something else? Okay, go ahead.
About this. Has HBM supported the Celebrate Havelock in any way financially yet?
In kind, a lot of in kind. I mean, the arena and you know, some help with some of the printing and stuff like that, I think has happened maybe a little bit, but Bob, I don't know, or Margaret, I don't know if you know of anything.
Regardless, I don't think it's very much of it is. And as you just stated, or maybe Deputy Mayor Giroux did, like, this is an important thing for our municipality. And so where I'm going with this is, you're saying there's no money for a tent. Well, a tent is quite an addition to what you're trying to achieve there. And I don't know what it would cost for a tent. I get an idea that it's not that much as well. You're smiling, Mr. Mayor. Am I going the wrong direction or what?
No, I'm just, I don't know what's expensive. It's yeah, the bags were like about $1,200, and the tent is like, I think $2,200 or something like that. It's yeah, so I think probably it's best to just leave it with the notice of motion, I guess, for now. And I'll let the committee know tomorrow that you are supportive, and see where it goes from there. Because you know, if it does come before Celebrate Havelock, that would it'll help in the end. Like I say, right now we're pinching pennies here to try and make everything happen, and I think the notice of motion will work.
That's fine. We'll leave it with the notice of motion. That's
I'll
great.
let them know and get that letter in. So, okay. All right then, Councillor Webb, go ahead. I need a seconder for them. Or no, I don't need anything. It's just a notice of motion, right, Bob?
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, I was going to suggest that if you indicated that there will be a letter coming. So if the letter comes, and we'll place it on the next agenda, which is May 2nd or 3rd, early May. May 3rd. So we'll certainly get that done before the event. So if the letter comes, we'll place it on the agenda and we can deal with it at the next council.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. Okay, and Hart, did you have anything?
No, I was just gonna say, I think we gave him $500 last meeting, didn't we? But to Larry's point, it is one of our bigger community events. So I mean, if it does need help, I think they should come here at least ask for our help.
Yeah.
See if we can help them. So.
That's good. Okay, thank you. Okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's too late this year probably, but you know, we always had, before COVID came along, we always had the fishing derby for the kids over at our pond in the park. So, you know, can we put it on the books for next year? I think it's too late this year to probably get anybody involved to close off the dam, you know, put the screen across the dam. Pretty hard to get volunteers, so.
Councillor Webb, go ahead.
Thoughts?
Yeah,
Councillor Webb.
I was talking with staff last week, Barry, so we're trying to get that going probably sometime this week. We contacted the people that we ordered the fish from, so we're getting things lined up. Hopefully by the end of this week, we'll be in first gear. And just so you know, the tentative date for the fish derby would be May 28th, which is the last Saturday in May.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah, I think everything's been happening so fast. There's some things that are slipping through the cracks here, and we'll have to tighten it up a little bit. So, okay, so that's all we have for new business. I'll look for a motion to receive the report. Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, once again, I'll be out of bounds. I guess you could call this new business or old business. I did not have an opportunity to get this through to Bob, but as we all know, we received an information or an advertisement through Royal LePage in our mailboxes, and I think all of council got a letter stating that it wasn't very nice that Havelock-Belmont-Methuen wasn't on the list of municipalities that were on the letter. I'm hoping that council knows what I'm referring to. I spoke to Fran Allen, the Royal LePage broker, and she knew as soon as I told her my name and where I was from, what the conversation was going to be about, and she apologized many times for HBM Havelock-Belmont-Methuen not being on the list. We weren't the only ones that were not on the list. Honeybee, South Monaghan were not on the list. So she wanted me to convey this morning her apologies. There's a new letter being printed and sent out to our municipality with our names on it and our telephone number, and along with the rest of them. So I said I would, and I've done that. So it was just a mistake. That we were on the original list, and they tried to shrink it down too much, and we got lost somehow or another. So I appreciated her answer, and she asked me to apologize. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so I'll look for a motion to receive the new business items that were discussed. Councillor Ellis, Deputy Mayor Giroux, all in favor? And that's carried. So we're going to move into bylaws here, and I didn't do this bylaw before. Normally we do it then. So there was a bylaw for the zoning bylaw amendment. You want me to read it all, Bob, or the one I haven't got the name on the sheet here, so can you do that?
Yeah, not necessary to read it all. This is the bylaw that was presented earlier in the meeting. In the name of zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you. To approve that, move that zoning bylaw amendment, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? That's carried. And the second one here was authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen with regards to the lot addition in Havelock. Is that good enough, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, that's fine. This is authorizing the merger agreement as was presented through the planning report earlier in the meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I think it was moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next item here is the fireworks bylaw. The only question I had around that, Bob, was will there be something on the website to show the changes that happened? Because there was a lot of work went into that. I just thought it would have been maybe a report on it, so. That'll go on the website?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, that will absolutely be posted on the website.
Okay, thanks everyone who put all the work into it. There's a lot of changes on there. So, so a motion to pass the bylaw to regulate the sale and setting off of fireworks in the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. Moved by Councillor Webb. Seconder. We have a seconder for that. Councillor Ellis. Okay, all in favor? And that's carried. Next item, we dealt with the budget, and the final item here on the bylaws is to authorize the use of the voting and vote counting equipment, the use of alternate voting methods, and authorize advanced voting. Motion to move that, moved by Deputy, moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, and the confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Finally got there. Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis for the confirming bylaw and seconded by Councillor Webb before he gets the tie off. And all in favor? And that's carried. And the final thing here is the adjournment. And there you go. Barry's got his hand up. So Imagine that. Barry, you're moving it. And the seconder here is Councillor Ellis. All in favor, and that's carried. Thanks, everyone, for all that went into today's meeting. And we'll talk later. Thank you very much.